into running, this is for you. If you're just an athlete of any sort, this is something for all of you to really help you go from that broken phase to really bringing it in life and doing what's required. So, woohoo! Danny, you are on. Even though you're sideways, if you want to flip your camera, I think you'll be back. Yes, there we go.
Yeah, sweet. How's it going?
Danny and I have been playing back and forth with social media, and you guys, if you're scared to do a Facebook Live, don't worry, because anyone can do it. High fives through the camera, Danny. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So, Danny, you are you're world renowned. You are a legend. And, I know you're so humble, but I'm so stoked to have you on here because you've not only changed my life, you've changed millions of lives between you and your wife and what you've done through the course of your career. So I'm really honored to have you on here, for you to be part of our podcast and our book and really what you're doing for the world. So tell us a little bit more about why natural running and why the heck did you choose a career in running and running shoes?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a tough one. I was, my whole life I've been a runner. I just enjoyed running when I was a kid and did high school track and, middle school track and all that. And then we just started running. It was the, 60s and 70s. And so there was a big running boom. And I just felt very compelled. I was in other sports, football and basketball and stuff like that. But I was a little guy. So, running started to become, a lot of fun for me. Then, I mean, as things progressed, I was actually up in Aspen skiing. I was a ski instructor and boot fitter and things in the 70s, late 70s, and continued my running there and finally got into marathons and then later on ultra marathons. And so I've had a love for it. And then I guess, probably in the 80s, my wife and I got married. Jennifer and I got married in 1986 and then moved to Boulder. I was doing ski orthotics up in Aspen, and everybody said, why don't you do something for running? It probably makes a lot of sense since everything's so hard and rigid. That didn't seem very natural. So we did. We moved to Boulder. I made sort of an alternative type of orthotic and started working with a lot of athletes that were here in Boulder, of course. All the Ironman people, Scott Molina and Paula Newby-Fraser. And, I've made orthotics for 15 Ironman world champions and, Olympians of all sorts and all of that. So it just turned into, I think I enjoy helping people with their problems, right? Whether it's through an orthotic. So we made ultra lightweight orthotics and we got, really well known for that. And then, as time went on, we really started to notice how people were injured running and, how their movement was sort of a little bit indifferent. Other coaches were writing about that around the world at the time. Danny Dreyer, Chi Running, Nicholas Romanov from Russia, who was a sprint coach. We all saw that people were running in kind of a funny way. I think I was the first one to recognize that the footwear was starting to change the way people were moving.
Right.
I think that was, that was one of the big catalysts. And as we started working with Paula Newby-Fraser and multisport.com, they were the first online coaches, out of San Diego. And we started doing these camps all over the country associated with Ironman. So we would film people, we would watch people, and then we'd give people feedback. And so, with all the feedback I was giving them about cadence and forward lean and posture, they were still having difficulty with it because, with a high heel, you want to put your foot out in front of your body and balance on the high point. So that in itself kind of led to saying, maybe shoe construction could be better. And it took a while to figure that, if you take away the heel, then your foot's going to land more parallel to the ground. And so, with all those thoughts in mind, things just started to happen over time. A lot of people encouraged me to, share my information. I'd done it through many clubs and clinics and things like that, but then finally writing my book in 2011. Also started Newton Running, 2000, and it took 15 years to really try to develop that technology. So it was not anything overnight. Everything out there was so ingrained. We tried to sell it to a bunch of brands. because to start a shoe company is pretty crazy to begin with, right? And then after that, it was everybody said, no, no, we everything's invented here. We do air, we do gel, we do whatever. And so we finally decided to go ahead and start a shoe company. But I had a lot of experience. Also, my wife and I had a lot of experience with running shoes. We had in 1988, we started Active Imprints doing our orthotics, but we also carried a lot of brands, and we tried to carry brands that made sense, um, you know. So then eventually did the Newton, did a lot of research at MIT, and that was also backing up things that we thought. So as a run form coach, I was the first one to recognize that the shoe was in the way. So once we got the Newton and I made the first low profile shoe. Most people they called us minimalist. No one knew where to put us on the wall. So in 2007, we sort of stood alone. We'd go to stores, we didn't even, they didn't know where to put us, are we stability category, neutral category, whatever. They just put us on a rack over by ourselves and then, talked about it. And then eventually, minimalism did come along. They were like, well, Danny Abshire did this thing, and they cut all our shoes in half and said, oh, they're only 3 millimeters difference in the heel or 2 millimeters difference in the heel height to the forefoot height, because back then we started drop. No one knew what drop was. The elevation from the heel to the forefoot, and so there was a lot of things that we did that. Were kind of historic, in the running industry. But of course, growing up in the 60s, we were running in very minimal shoes. And I always enjoyed running in minimal shoes. And even when I was racing a lot, in the late 70s and early 80s, I just, there were no heavy shoes back then. I mean, we all enjoyed running in super lightweight race flats and training in a lightweight trainer. So, that's one thing I guess has been my history, is making light shoes. So anyhow, that's, I know then that led to, let's help people revamp their running posture, so it was kind of, let's stay nice and tall with the core. Let's run from the core instead of overstriding. And let's keep cadence. Cadence keeps you from overstriding as well. And when you cut down on all this vertical bounce, you're moving forward with less impact, less rotation. And so there goes a lot of the rotational issues as far as injury. There goes one less impact to your body. So all of these things, then other scientists and other researchers started to find out after we sort of introduced this whole concept, of because I knew when I brought Newton out, it's like it's a more midfoot, forefoot running shoe, and we actually have to talk about running form. And whereas other brands had never taken any kind of stand to talk about running form, and then of course after I talked about running form along with the product, other brands started talking about, hey, natural running form, or more efficient running form, or whatever you want to call it, good form running or whatever. So they started taking the pieces from some of these coaches and putting it in with their footwear or their explanation. But now you can notice that I haven't been with Newton for about over a year now, and have my new brand. My wife and I, Jennifer, have our new brand, because you can't really stop what you believe in. You can't stop your passion. Newton stopped posting. Well, at that time, just said, well, we don't really want to talk about form. We want to just have people buy the shoes. And, that was always my passion. So I'm continuing on my passion of helping people understand, right? See, the biggest thing is, if you can understand about how your body can move more efficiently, you can during the run, if you kind of fade from that or you become fatigued, then you can draw on that mental power of, hey, I know I'm losing my posture, right? When people say I lose my form, it's like you basically, number one, lose your posture, and then your cadence goes out of whack. and then you drop your head and you do all these things. So the way I tell people then is you might as well start walking and regroup, get your posture back, start out by lifting from your core again, fall forward slightly, and then totally regroup. So that's, I know I'm a rambling kind of guy, so please ask.
I love it. Well, you know, we only have you for a few minutes and you're world renowned. You've started this movement of natural running, and I'm so excited about it because it's really changed the way I think about prevention. And there's a lot of people I see on here. There's some athletes I've coached. You know, I took your course in healthy running and learning how to teach natural running, and being a science nerd myself, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so genius. You know, the physics of your body and being able to get your body into that forward movement and how we were created to move. And, you know, I did this poll like 6 months ago, and I was like, why do people hate running? And most of the time it's because they get injured, right? Or it's not fun, or it hurts, or it's just frustrating. And so when you can actually teach someone how to run, I mean, I went a decade without anyone teaching me how to run. I went through a scholarship and training for the Olympics to triathlons without anyone actually sitting me down and going, hey, here's the dynamics, here's the physics of movement. Let's teach you how to actually move your body properly. And, you know, it's profound in what you're saying, and I love it because I just got your new shoes in the mail. Sweet. I love it. This little package came in, and it is so lightweight that my boyfriend was like, oh my gosh, is there paper in the box? Like, there can't be shoes in there. So I ran with these today, and I'm in Utah, so going up and down the hills, like, these were phenomenal. Like, I like them better than Newton. I don't know if I can say that on here, but I'm saying it. But they're phenomenal. So guys, if you haven't tried Active Imprints, these are the Boulder shoe. They're phenomenal. Super lightweight, and yet very, you know, the propulsion that I felt was phenomenal. So, you know, I see people on here that have either said they hated running, they've been injured running, they were coached by me in running, or they've tuned into you in the past, and you're such a legend. So I think the problem with most people is, you know, they get broken, and it's going, hey, you know, why natural running? Why take that? Why did it shift from barefoot running, chi running, to all these crazy shoes, to now going back to prevention? So what have you seen over the last several decades? I mean, starting this,
you know, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Everything is kind of cyclical because, I mean, we were running in very minimalist shoes, and then that got very maximal. And with all, it's like, once you start heel striking, right? Once the heel was raised in shoes, then people were overstriding, and then the cadence is